Can you tell me how you would redesign the smart lock? Hey everyone, welcome back to another Exponent product design mock interview. Today we're going to be doing a whiteboard challenge with Furquan. So before we get into it, Furquan, we're super excited to have you. Do you want to just tell the audience a little bit about yourself first?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Furquan. I currently work as a product designer in London at Meta, also known as Facebook, on the workplace team. I also make my own YouTube videos, design related videos on my own YouTube channel, and I'm just super excited to do another whiteboard challenge with Kevin today.
Sweet. So for today's whiteboard challenge, this is the question I want to ask. Let's imagine you're a product designer at Google. Can you tell me how you would redesign the smart lock?
Yeah, sweet. So let's just get started here. So the first thing to really start with is like, what is really the purpose of a smart lock, and why are we looking really to redesign a smart lock as well? So I guess like if I start with my whiteboard here and just like start with just put some sort of, we're redesigning the smart lock here, and I guess like as Google, like why are we like redesigning this? I feel like there's some good like business opportunities here. So I feel like it's important to talk about like the business opportunities as well as like the user opportunities as well. So so I guess one thing I'll say like with the smart lock, in terms of like redesigning it, for like Google, it's really good to like branch out into like hardware sales. As so it's like an alternative like stream of income here. So with like Google, I suppose like they're very much known for their ad revenue. So in terms of business opportunity, like it'll be good to have them basically have some sort of like branch out ad revenue as well. So it's another source of income basically. Um, so one would like in terms of business opportunities, I feel like it's another good way to diversify your income, as well as I suppose it's another good way to like branch out your investment into Google products and ecosystem. And in terms of like customer opportunities, like redesigning a smart lock, I feel like first it's also good to look at what is the purpose of a smart lock to like begin with. So what is the purpose of a smart lock here? So I guess like well, when I like look at the purpose of smart lock, I first of all start with like what is smart. So like why are we actually doing this? So like what does actually smart mean when it comes to a smart lock? And for me, like smart means it's usually like digitally connected, and you can interact with this on the internet. So so what we've got here is like, what is the purpose of a smart lock? So we can see like there's some business opportunities. Like while we're redesigning this, there's going to be some like customer opportunities here as well. But first of all, it's like good to understand like what is smart. It's like something that's digitally connected. You can connect with this on the internet, and then we have to like define like what is the actual purpose of a lock here. So what is the purpose of smart lock? So we know that smart meters digitally connected, but what's the purpose of a lock? And to me, the purpose of a lock is to really gain that security for a user. I guess it meets that like safety and like psychological needs. So I guess like in terms of like a lock, it doesn't always have to be like a physical thing. So I don't know if you like Kevin, like when it comes to like a lock, like you stereotypically might think of like a padlock or something, but reality is that you could have a digital lock as well. But it's not it what it is just providing that psychology feeling of something safe basically. So when it comes to what is the purpose of a smart lock, it's really to give that security of someone with whether that is like digitally or physically. For me, that's what a lock really does. It just provides that psychological effect. It's like when you look at like Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, safety is really important here. So I guess like that's like something that's like really important to look at as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for the purpose of this whiteboard challenge, we could assume that this is going to be like a home lock, right? I think you called out a lot of good clarifying questions here. Like a lock could mean like, oh, safety from any number of places. Let's assume that this is for Google's like home security sort of suite of products. So Google has like Google Nest, which has like smoke alarms, stuff like that. So this is going to be within that family of products.
Yeah, okay, cool. That makes sense. So what we've like defined here is like what is the purpose of a smart lock? We've identified what smart is. So it's something that's digitally connected. So I can imagine our lock will be investing like this, like Nest kind of products. And the security here is for a user meeting those like safety, like psychology needs. So I guess like from here, like let's look at some like customer opportunities of like who we could like really design this for. So in terms of like customer opportunities for like a smart lock, I guess like a lot of the times I feel like customers could like lose their current like keys a lot of the time. And this could be like a current like area we could help with this, lose their current like their physical keys, or forget where or they misplace them. So I feel like this is like a good opportunity we could like potentially look at here is that a lot of people lose their current physical keys or they misplace them. So can we like design maybe a solution, something around that? I guess also maybe there might be something around like accessibility when it comes to this stuff as well. Like how accessible is the current physical lock? I guess what I mean in terms of this is that if you have like different like impairments, like these could be like physical impairments, like does the current lock solution really work well for someone like this as well? And that could be like a potential direction we could look at as well. I guess like customer opportunities as well. Like I don't know if you've ever felt like, how do I know if my door is locked? So I feel like this is like a potential area we could look at here as well, is that look, the current like solution of like locks don't really identify or tell you like is my door locked or not. So this could be a potential problem because people could like forget this, and like having something that's smart could actually help like potential alleviate this as well. And like I suppose you're like also worried about getting locked out as well. So like worried about getting locked out. So maybe like these are some like potential areas we could look at. So we look at some business opportunities, like you said, like there's hardware sales, source of income. You could like branch out your investment to Google ecosystem. But in terms of customer opportunities, the current lock-in system is with physical locks is that you might be worried if you forget your keys, you could get locked out. How do you know if your door has been locked? This may be not as accessible, and people could lose their current physical keys, or they could like misplace them as well. And I guess like we could like say maybe like the current solution, I guess it is very widely adopted, but maybe some people might struggle to use the current locking system, and we could create something maybe even easier to use, an easier way to unlock your door. But what we've got here is like some potential customer opportunities and some like business opportunities that we could like dive into. And let's not dive into like more of like who we could like specifically like design for in this like whiteboard challenge. That's
Cool,
cool.
sounds
Like
good.
before moving on.
Yeah, that sounds good. I really like how you outlined like the business opportunities as well as these different customer opportunities or pain points. So yeah, I'm curious to see like where we go from here.
Yeah, sweet. I guess like I could like list out some potential customers, and like after this we could like clarify if there's a specific persona that we've got in mind afterwards. But when it comes to a lock, I suppose in general, before like narrowing this down, is that most literally everyone that has like owns a house, owns or lives in a house will need access to the I guess to the property. So I guess this is like who we're actually designing this for. Someone who owns or lives in a house. And from here, I suppose like we could like narrow this down like further is that look, there's like children that could like potentially use this, but I guess like really do you really trust a child to like be unlocking the doors? Like should children be having access to door locking and unlocking doors? And then we've got like more of the elderly people. So these are like stereotypically not as tech savvy, but I guess like the elderly people they obviously live in a lot of properties, but they might have more impairments. Maybe may have some impairments. They may be more forgetful, or like they may I suppose like their tech literacy levels aren't as high as well. Well, tech literacy not as high. However, I suppose they need to like be able to get in and out of houses like very easily as well. And like another persona we could look out is like millennials or like students. I guess like living in like college accommodations or uni students, a lot more tech savvy. However, they don't usually have as high budgets, I suppose, as like an elderly person. Not as high budget. Usually, probably renting or living at home, like stereotypically. So I guess why this is relevant is just because when it comes to owning a house, it's probably like I guess it's an assumption that I'd probably validate with like user research, but like for this whiteboard challenge, I feel like we could just make an assumption here that a lot of students probably or like millennials they don't own a house and they're probably not in charge of the lock-in solution, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a fair enough assumption to make, Kevin.
Yeah.
So I guess like what I'm like leaning on here is maybe we should like design a solution for the elderly that maybe might not be as tech savvy, but I feel like they will rely on a solution like this because of the physical solution might not work as well as they develop more impairments as you get older. Your health like deteriorates, so you're probably relying on something a bit easier to get in and out of your house, and you want to still be independent as you get older as well, and you want to remain with that independence. So is it cool if we move with the elderly persona here?
Yeah, and so I guess in this case we're going to be designing a smart lock for elderly people to use themselves, right? It's not like other people are going to be using it like a caretaker for helping the elderly.
No, we're hoping that it'll be a solution where the elderly can use it for themselves and they can still have that independence, because I feel like as you get older, that's something you value and you hopefully doesn't get taken away too much.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I think it'll be super important to empower elderly people. So let's go ahead with designing for them.
Cool. Yeah, sweet. So I guess like when and where would they use this solution? What I'm looking to do is try and like break down the flow and then try and come up with a problem statement that we can like narrow this down with as well.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like elderly people, like they could be going to the grocery store, visiting family members, and I guess like they just want to like go out without lock remembering their keys, or I suppose like the flow like when they'll use this is like they're just going out to visit families, going out to visit friends, to the grocery stores, and they might usually like forget their keys, but with this flow I guess like we want to try and like change this, and they we're going to the grocery store, visit families, and just want to go out. They may forget their keys. So this could be like one potential solution. So I'm going to go to the grocery with his family, and they just want to go, but they may forget their keys, or they are coming back from shopping and they've misplaced their keys. Or we could like look at another scenario is that they could be like they are forgetful and not sure if they've locked their door. Locked their door before they've gone out.
So it sounds like we want to keep in mind like three scenarios, right? Like one is when the elderly person is leaving their home, one is when they're already not at home, and one is when they're coming back to their home, right? So there's like these three scenarios we want to keep in mind. Just doing a quick time check, we're about halfway through our mock interview. What should we do once we have these scenarios in mind?
Sweet. Yeah, I feel like from here, let's like get a problem statement and come up with some potential solutions of what we could potentially do. So my how might we statement here is how might we help elderly people get access to their property to their property a lot more simply without relying on physical keys. So I guess what we've made an assumption here is what we're trying to do is how might we help elderly people get access to their property a lot more simply without relying on physical keys, because we've identified these three different scenarios here is that they're coming back from the shops or visiting people and they might forget or misplace their keys, or they're just not sure they've like locked themselves out. So I guess what we should do here is look at some potential solutions on the what. So walking through the 5 whys, the next thing I usually do is like dive into some solutions here of like what we could potentially achieve. So I guess like some potential solutions is if we don't want something that's like too reliant on tech, but at the same time we want to make it very easy to use for the elderly as they're not too digital literate. So I guess we could have something that's like with some like facial recognition of a solution. I guess like another potential solution is we could look at some sort of like voice opening. So we can use some like sort of like voice technology, and maybe another solution we could look at is, I guess very stereotypically, is like a digital app, maybe. Digital app on your smartphone. And maybe we could have something, I guess I was thinking maybe some sort of like tag or something like an air tag or a tag that you have, or tag or physical wristband. Something that's very easy for you to just carry around and it's a lot harder to like forget. So these are like potential solutions, but I feel like we need to narrow down like the advantages and disadvantages, like it's from like a customer's perspective as well as like from a business perspective. So I guess like first of all, what's really easy about facial recognition is it's just in terms of like a user experience, it could be very easy and simple to use, and I suppose you're not always relying on your smartphone or hardware. So in terms of like remembering something, you're not relying on it. So it's very simple and from an experience perspective, not reliant on any hardware. I guess like another like advantage of this is that if we're looking for something that's really good for the customer here is that if you're using like facial recognition is quite a well-known or technology that is easy to learn slash adopt. The reason I say this is because literally all smartphones usually have like facial recognition, and technology is quite a common like pattern or perspective for like people to understand how this works. So in terms of like adoption, it's pretty well adopted, and we're not really relying on the elderly to learn something new. And I guess like in terms of like Google's perspective, like business perspective, this is like good because there's the tech stacks already available. And that's going to be good from a business perspective as well, as you're not having to really develop anything new, and you'll be able to get out the door a lot quicker. I guess in terms of like time constraints, if we are in a time constraint, like facial recognition, we're not really making anything to you. But in terms of like disadvantages, is that look, there's a lot of bias with facial recognition. Does it work with diverse skin tones and different facial like textures? Like people could be having like cosmetic surgeries, or like there's different skin colors and skin tones, and we've seen like with facial recognition and like filters that it's not always working the best. And if we're looking to scale this solution up, we need to make sure that this works really, really well, especially if you're trying to get access to someone's house, which is so important to them. You don't want to be locked out because the technology isn't that well working well for different like skin tones. And I guess a massive
go ahead with this next one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say another disadvantage with facial recognition is there's a lot of data that you have to have a lot of trust with. So who owns the data?
Got it. Yeah. Thanks for going through like these pros and cons for facial recognition. I feel like we could adopt a lot of these pros and cons for voice opening. Digital app sounds similar to like what's already on the market. I'm curious, like, well, what are the pros and cons for the fourth one, like the physical wristband?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I feel like for the physical wristband, I'd say if a straight up like disadvantage is that it might create more environmental waste. To basically, if we're asking everyone to own a physical like hardware solution and this gets widely scaled up, you are creating like more waste. So environmentally, not that great, especially with people getting more net zero targets as a business. So it creates more environmental waste. Another disadvantage is that look, you need some creating hardware that works ergonomically. It takes a lot of time, takes more time, and I guess like this in itself will increase the development time to like launch this. So increases development time. I guess this also it might make it more expensive as well. More expensive. I guess this is an assumption. Again, more expensive, needing to buy or wear something will cost because you have to buy the physical wristband. And I guess like some good advantages of this is
Or
that
maybe another disadvantage would be like the elderly person has to remember to bring it, and if they have to do that, they might as well just bring a key.
Yeah, exactly. So still quite similar to having a key. But I guess what an advantage of this is that you could make this like fashionable to wear slash you could like get the physical solutions like a lot easier for someone to wear in a place that's more common, such as like a ring or on their finger, or you could make this, I don't know, maybe like an earring or a necklace, like tie this into their daily routine of existing. So I guess like that's like one advantage of like having like a physical wristband. It's just a lot more common.
Makes sense. Thanks for like walking through like all these different ideas. I love how creative they were. Like, how would you proceed? Like, is there any sort of prioritization you would make here?
Yeah, so I'd like usually draw a matrix of like the impact and effort to like make these solutions. So what I'd usually do here is just write down the effort required and the impact. Again, these are gonna be based off like assumptions, but I guess we've numbered the solutions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I'm going to do is just basically level out where I feel like the impact and effort really lies here. So for me, what I'm just going to do is just write number 1 here. And I feel like number 1, it might have like quite a bit of effort to maybe set up in terms of the app of like facial recognition of like getting someone to onboard on this. But then in terms of scalability of a solution and accessibility wise, and it's quite a common technology, it could be pretty big. So I'm going to put this like, it's very high impact to be honest, and the effort is reasonably big. Whereas if we look at a solution like number 4, the effort is very great and the impact is more limited as well. The reason I say it's limited is because you're relying on someone to buy like something physical in terms of a hardware, and the impact of it is going to be limited because we're not 100% sure, are people going to remember to wear this like ring or necklace, you know? So I'll put this pretty low down here for number 4. And then the digital app on your smartphone, maybe people aren't as tech literate. So we could like say, in terms of a solution, it could be like pretty popular. At the same time, I don't think it's going to be as high as an impact as like number 1. And voice opening is the technology, it has scaled quite a bit, but again, I don't see it as scalable as some of this facial recognition. People have different dialects and tones. There's way too many different languages you have to support with this. Not everyone speaks English. So in terms of scalability for number 2, I don't put that as high as well. So looking at this matrix here, I feel like number 1's a solution we should like really look at some design for. And I feel like for the business perspective as well, we know that, look, number 1, we've got the technology as Google on how to do this as well. And people might trust us knowing that we've done this stuff before with Android.
Yeah, it makes sense. I could totally imagine this being like Face ID for your home, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Cool. So next up, I'm like gonna like draw out what this potential solution could really look like here. So I imagine like there's like 2 flows that we're going to look at, which is locking the door and unlocking the door. But I feel like with the time that we've got, let's focus on this flow of what it's going to be like to maybe unlock your door with like facial recognition. And I guess there's also going to be the flow of setting up the like facial recognition on the phone as well. So maybe we could touch on that as well.
Okay.
Also, how much time do we have left?
We're good. Probably like 5 more minutes.
Okay, cool. So in terms of like setting this up, I feel like this could be like a one-time thing on a mobile phone where it's gonna like ask, maybe like you have to connect on your phone. So what I'd say is here we've got the setup. So it's gonna like have to download something on your app, and we could just use again like the existing like material design. Like a lot of people have Android phones, so maybe it can be like integrated very nicely inside here. So on the setup, it'll just be like setup. Sorry, like what we're going to say is put face in frame, and then from here, it'll just say you'll get some sort of like success like tick where it's like done, and then so that's just going to be like done, and then from here your face is basically just going to be like registered, so like face registered, and then on here we're going to have like face registered, and then I guess like on your Wi-Fi network, connect your lock, And then I guess maybe you'll just choose your lock on the screen. So on here, it's just going to say like 101 lock connect. So on your Wi-Fi network, you just have to connect your lock, and then it'll just have a maybe like some sort of button like do you want to connect using this lock, and then from here it'll just be like, yes, your setup is complete. And then I guess the way it works in terms of the solution is unlocking the door. So unlocking is what we'd have is like a person here trying to like draw like some sort of like stick man. Is they'll just walk up to the door, and there'll be some sort of like camera. I guess I'd have to like buy this, like install this on their door. That's another thing we have to think about, is the installation of like how will they get this. Maybe when they buy the smart lock, you'll buy the installation with it. But because this will have to set up a camera on their door as well. So they have to set up the app and set this up on their door as well. But it's all a one-time thing. So I feel like that's why it's still scalable, but it'll recognize them. So we've got a stick man here, we've got the door, and then from here, facial recognition recognizes person. I guess like we can rely on other senses. So we can make some noise and some sort of visual to unlock door. So I guess from here, on the door, we've got like some sort of noise that happens, and then we can maybe have some sort of like tick or something that happens. So on the door, it like ticks and then it just opens by itself. So maybe there's some sort of like automatic lock, automatic opening. Yeah, I guess like unlocking. So in terms of the setup, like you'd have to also pay for installation as well. Of time, I feel like this is like the main flow that I'd mainly go for. So set up one time on a smartphone, pay for the installation, but the idea is you just walk up and the door unlocks by itself. Got some audio sensory cues as well, not just visual cues, where you're relying on different senses here as well. And that's a really big advantage. To really talk about is how to really measure the success of this, and some like the disadvantage of the solution as well is that in terms of like measuring success going forward, if I had like time in the Whiteboard challenge, is measuring success is like task completion rate of setting up the flow, setting up the door. I guess like measure success task completion rate of setting up the door. I guess another thing I'd look at is maybe market share in terms of Google market share. How many, so how much of the market we managed to gain. And then I guess like another way to measure success of this is just like customer satisfaction, like some sort of like NPS score. Yeah, and then I guess like some like there's like some environmental concerns with like buying these like cameras. Maybe there's again the whole privacy thing in terms of a legal perspective. Who owns the data? You have to trust Google quite a bit with your facial recognition. What happens also, a disadvantage is like if this gets hacked, privacy concerns, security concerns. There's quite a few with this like solution, and I feel like this maybe is something we should really like visit before like launching or building up that trust over time for people, as well as I feel like we need to still have a backup physical lock if this fails. What happens if this fails as well? Like if this fails, the internet is down or Bluetooth fails, what do we still have a normal block, a physical key? Like, is this basically just an easier way to help elderly people get in, and we still have a backup of a physical locker key? Because tech does fail, and we need to think about this, as well as what happens to the bad actors with people hacking this solution as well. But yeah, this is like my take on the whole redesigning a smart lock for the elderly. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this, Kevin.
No, this was awesome. Thanks for taking the time to walk me through this whiteboard challenge. I think just going from the top, just quick review of your solution here. I love like the beginning where you had that meta question, like what is a lock, right? Like you didn't just assume that, oh, this was like a padlock or something. Loved how you took into account some of the accessibility challenges, especially with elderly people, right? Like their like facial, there might be some challenges around like them using tech and stuff like that. I also love how in the design it was very like language agnostic, right? You had noise and visual cues. It doesn't really rely on someone having to like, you know, have you use technology in order to get that confirmation. Also love the idea of the escape hatch, right? Like what if like Bluetooth or technology is down? All in all, love this mock interview. Do you have any final tips you might want to share with the audience who might be going through their own like product design interview prep?
Yeah, 100%. I guess my biggest tip when it comes to whiteboard challenges is what Kevin alluded to earlier, is just don't dive into the solution or like the whiteboard in way too early. Like the whole creating wireframes and stuff, like that can come a lot later, but you're meant to like start like in that double diamond process that people talk about. Is like really, really expand and broaden your horizon right at the start of the challenge, and think really, really divergently and think in totally different directions. Like what is smart, what is the purpose of the lock, and then start narrowing it down as you go on. Validate that with the interviewer, and that will really put you on the right path to success, because people are more really assessing the way that you think and how you work collaboratively with someone. They're not really assessing your solution, they're more assessing like your process, how you think and what type of things you think about as well. So that's my biggest tip, is don't narrow down way too early. Just explore different directions, explore different technologies and different edge cases. It's not about your solution that you create.
Great. Thanks, Furquan. And for the viewers at home, good luck with your upcoming product design interview.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let us know that this video is valuable for you. And of course, check out hundreds more videos just like this at tryexponent.com. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your upcoming interview.